been a long time.
Yes, it has. It has been a while.
Why don't we start off with you telling me how you got involved into doing what you do, and what is it that you do? What would you classify that as official title, if there is such a thing?
Well, I suppose the official title would be movie poster artist or film poster artist.
Great.
And it's something that when I was growing up, I didn't realize it could be a potential profession at the time. But through collecting posters that I liked and putting them on my bedroom wall, one day I had an epiphany and I saw a signature on the posters that was the same on a few of the posters that I had on the wall, and it said Drew. And so that I was like, oh, maybe. I think I was probably about 12 years old, maybe at this point, and realizing that these works of art were works of art. Basically, they weren't just for advertising, although that was the main point of them. I was enjoying them for works of art on my walls and reminding me of the movies that I loved as well at the same time. And so from that point on, it became an interest of mine because I always loved drawing and painting and creating things like that. And it became something that I was like, if I was going to do anything, that's what I want to do when I grow up. And back then, before the internet was around, there wasn't a lot of information on film poster artists. I mean, there were obviously illustrators, and you saw their work through advertisements and things like that. And then obviously there was the movie poster artists, but there was little you could find out about them at that time, or that I could find out about
Right.
at that age as well. And it just became, through art college to university. I'd studied illustration at university, and it became the thing that I was sort of hoping that one day would happen, just by following the footsteps of through a educational system. Even though the educational system toward the end, they frowned upon commercial illustration, where they were more interested in illustration that was more akin to fine art, or kind of just not what I was into. But it just became something that I enjoyed, and I actually, it was places that started happening on the internet at the time, like the Raider.net for one.
Yeah.
And so, being a big Indiana Jones fan, I'd drawn a lot of artwork of Indiana Jones in my childhood, and so not many people had seen it apart from at school, maybe college. And then so when the Raider.net came out, it was a website that was, for fans of Indiana Jones. And so I submitted some artwork and it was put on the website. And that might have been probably the first time I'd shared my work in that way. And it got a nice response, and I got a lovely response from Gilles, who was the guy who kind of did all the website, and we ended up working together as well, and then obviously working with you through that. Yeah. And then, it's like, and that was like, what year was that? It was about 2000, 2001, something like that. During that time, a lot of my work, it ended up moving from a traditional to a digital kind of workflow, mainly due to the few clients I had were asking for stuff in a digital form. And so I was like, yeah, of course I can do that. And I dabbled, but I hadn't really nailed it. But then trying to nail the aesthetic of the original painted and drawn work in the computer was the key to kind of like unlocking, a career, I guess, for me down the line. And
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, I mean, Raiden.net was one of the key things for, like, because some of the work I was doing was like magazine related, but it was film related in a way, or TV related through books. And then in the early 2000s, it kind of like went on
Yeah.
from there very slowly. I mean, it took about 10 years to become an overnight success, but
Yeah.
probably more actually.
Well, it always seems in hindsight that it was, to other people that it was like a break that some people get, but there's just so much behind the scene, work obviously, and then bigger thing, the biggest than anything else is rejection, that constant rejection that you have to
Yeah,
face and just keep at it, and
that's
that's what
true.
defines that how much you enjoy it.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. I think rejection is one of those things that you either take it as, oh well, it wasn't for them or whatever, and but you have to kind of know it, something inside that just won't let you give up, and then that it just seems to be that the fact that you're not giving up, and if you, I mean, I think there's a fine line. I think you have to have a modicum of skill. With you can't just, if you have to be fairly good at something and recognize that, and realize that you have something to offer, and then just keep at it. But yeah, realizing that and then keep moving forward without stopping is probably one of the keys to success. Is just not giving up. Yeah,
Yeah, 100%. I think not giving up and also not letting go of what you believe in, but at the same time always improving.
yeah,
That's another thing. Like if somebody doesn't like something, that doesn't mean it's terrible, but it also doesn't mean that it's perfect. So you have to figure out that path, right? How to
yeah.
sort of tackle that. But
Oh
that's
yeah,
that's
it's
yeah, and
definitely a navigational thing. You have to kind of navigate your way and try and make as good a decision as you can, along those tracks that you take.
yeah. I mean, like Steve Jobs said that you have to be crazy to to love what you're doing, because if you get rejection, then you're gonna give up. So you have to be completely mad about what you're
Yeah,
doing. But that's great, man. I mean, it's good to hear these kind of stories, because people, just like I said earlier, just feel that everybody's an overnight success, and it's not really.
mm.
It's more like 10, 15 years. Sometimes things take even longer. You said you had a poster in your room. Was that Indiana Jones, the first one, the one that inspired you?
Well, though, I had a few posters in my room. Raiders was one of them. The Amsel. It was the one with where he's with the whip doing this,
Ah, yeah, yeah,
and along with that there was reprint of the Temple of Doom poster.
yeah.
There, I had one that I got from a video shop, which was um, Adventures in Babysitting.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, and what else? I mean, I've probably got a photo of my old bedroom somewhere. I just don't know where it would be, but um, there was a bunch. I mean, they were all Spielberg related movies. George Lucas. There was obviously there would have been a Star Wars one. It might have been an Empire Strikes Back. Um, there was a bunch of. I mean, they would change occasionally as well, and because you only have so much space, but um, it got to the point where I had so many, I would have to roll them up and then get them out and then just look at them on the floor, and I'd like put weights on them and then just have a magnifying glass just to see how
Oh,
things were achieved,
super.
because I think at one point I didn't realize they were paintings. You just think they're I don't know. I think you feel like they just magically appear along with the movie. You don't realize that it's about to make a movie. There's like thousands of people involved in the making of one movie, and for a movie poster, I don't. I think at that young age, I guess I just thought it just came along. You don't think about the behind the scenes at the time,
Yeah.
but by knowing that, I got heavily into, uh, you know, the making of the films, the like the behind the scenes
Yeah.
videos and the books that would come out, like the making of Star Wars and the and all of those things. So I was really interested in ILM and all that kind of all the special effects as well. Um, but yeah, it was the movie posters that stuck with me. But just I think because I was when they were on the wall, it was like you were transported back to that movie in a split second, and you know, and also some of the movie posters I liked. I actually hadn't seen the movies, so it's just like I just liked the artwork for what it gave me just
Yeah.
through the artwork. But it's I just found it very powerful, and it was a case of like, eventually it was like, why are these things affecting me more than, I'd go to art galleries and look at the art in the galleries and from famous, artists of the day, and not be very inspired. But when I saw a movie poster, if it was done well, it would it had an impact on me more so. And it was like it became like, well, why? I'd have to kind of ask myself, why is this happening? And then it became a bit of an obsession, really, and because it just made me feel so good, and made me want to try and reinvent that, not reinvent
Yeah.
it, but try and be a part of that in some way, and like tap into that and be part of that. And
Is
so
it?
that's what it's like when I work on a poster. I get that feeling as well that it's a great satisfactory feeling, having done something for a project. So
I think it's also going back to what you said about the art galleries and versus movies, right? Like I'm not an artist as obviously of your caliber in any way. Not even good at drawing stuff, basic stuff. But when I go to art gallery, yeah, I feel the same way. I would not be inspired by something, maybe a little bit, as much as I would be by a movie poster, right? It could be possibly because our love for the movies. I think that's probably that connection and,
mm,
growing up and watching Goonies and Indiana Jones and all that stuff.
yeah, no, that's true. That's I guess the stuff in the art galleries didn't have the same impact because it didn't have the the movie to go along with it.
Well, we didn't know the characters, right? Like
True.
we don't know the characters.
Yeah, who
Did
is
Drew
this
do
guy with the
Goonies?
mustache and the big hat and
Yeah,
all these
yeah.
people with like guns and stuff? We don't know who they are. What's their story?
No disrespect to art galleries and their art.
No,
Um,
no, no, no. Yeah, don't take it the wrong way. I mean, it's nothing to do with that. It's just how, when you're trying to figure out, you know what it's all about when you're a youngster, and you don't really have much of a clue, but those things that do impact you, you actually feel that impact. And so when you feel it, it's like it must, you make take note of that, and you tend to kind of follow that. um or at least I know some of us do. We just feel like we should be engaging with something like that. It's just kind of, it's like a magnetism.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. You relate to it at some level. Did Drew also do Goonies poster?
yeah, he did.
The one where they're hanging off the cliff?
Yes, yes, classic. uh there's some, yeah, I mean, they're kind of mind-blowing pieces of art to go alongside with these movies. And um yeah, that's kind of
Yeah, it's insane that I don't know, maybe because we grew up with this, and today's generation is a little bit different. For me, and I'm sure for you too, especially for you, like looking at movie posters that come out now, right? Like I'm just talking about that have literally just like stills, collage, and all that stuff.
mm,
That doesn't have that much depth. And I'm not in any way like a superhero fan, but if I saw a superhero movie poster that's drawn the way you do stuff and Drew did, I'd probably be more drawn to it. There's just so much texture and
mm.
so many layers it has as opposed to a regular photograph. Is that right way to say it?
I agree. There are, in a lot of cases, especially, I mean, it may not be the same. Actually, I think a lot of movies, the posters are released obviously before the film, and do have an impact on people's choices. And I think for me, yeah, the same. If the poster was engaging, I'd want to see the movie more. And I would. I mean, I still actually to this day, if I don't like the marketing campaign, I'm less likely to go spend any money on that movie because it's just like it's not my kind of thing, obviously. But then that's what's happened sometimes is I've ignored a film because of the marketing campaign because it's not been true to the movie, and then seen the movie years later and gone, that was just I would have loved that movie when it came out. I love it now. Yet the marketing campaign just didn't fit, and it's almost like it had an agenda. It was trying to it's trying to sell itself to other, I don't know what else, but something else, a different market. And then when I saw it, I was like, no, it doesn't feel like it's something I want to watch. And yet that project or that film turned out to be a great movie that I really loved. So it's a shame. I agree. I'm of the mind of like I like truth in advertising as much as possible. So like, you know, what you see is what you get almost. It's gonna give you a definite insight into what you're gonna see, hopefully, and it's gonna be like, yeah, this is gonna. And you're not gonna sit in the theater and be disappointed because the poster lied to you or the trailer lied to you. I think it's so important to try and be as honest to people about what they're gonna sit through without giving too much away. It's a fine line, really, because the thing about a poster is it's actually it's a narrative in a single image, so it's supposed to tell you a certain amount of things, and it's supposed to tell you those things in a second. If it takes too long for people to look at it and go, I don't get it, then it's failed. It has to be an instant kind of like, oh, yeah, I connect with that. That's my kind of movie. Not like, what does it mean? It's too, unless it's like supposed to be like that way, that's fine. But when if it's an action movie and you can't tell what's going on in the poster or the advertising, it doesn't. It's a shame, but it just gets in the way, doesn't it?
How does that, I mean, obviously you're doing so much work now and you're super busy with so many different projects. You talked about strategizing and linking with the trailer. Like it's basically a synergy and marriage, right? The movie, the trailer, the poster, the merchandise, all those things um,
They're
are
all talking to
essential.
people, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean they're all essentially designed by, I shouldn't say designed, but orchestrated by a team of people that they have a strategy in place. Do you work very closely with the marketing team or department of a particular film? And what's the process of that, if that's something that you can share?
Sometimes every project's different. So sometimes I'll be heavily involved, sometimes not so much, and I'll come in at the last minute. Um, and so it just depends. Some of the bigger budget movies, a lot goes on before I get involved. Even down to like they've looked at hundreds and hundreds of different campaign choices, and then they decide maybe one of those posters would work as an illustration. Then they'll call someone like me to come in and work on illustrating what they've kind of come up with, or I'll make a few changes, but on the whole it's kind of like, this is what we're going for and we just need you to kind of make it work, because it's kind of there, but it's not gelling together. And
Right.
we think if it's illustrated, it's just gonna give it a whole like connection, which it does. Once I That's one of the things, taking it from um a solid design, but it's just not quite working. And it's that age old kind of saying is like, just do your magic. work your magic kind of thing. And so when you're given that responsibility, you just have to kind of bring it to the next level in a way that's gonna elevate everything, including the initial design, because things can get lost. I mean, in some of the posters I've worked on, there's a lot of characters, and that's not always my personal choice, but it's the choice of the filmmakers. They decide these things, and that's fine. But making that work in a cohesive design, so everyone kind of feels like they're not just shoved in. It's calculated, and the choices that are made are calculated. They're not always just like throw everything at it and hope for the best. And if it is like throw everything at it and hope for the best, then it's up to me to go, actually, I think I'll change a few things, and then I'll send it back and see what they think. And usually they like what I've made, the choices I've made, but it can be like that. And then sometimes it's from scratch, where I'm working with the actual director of the movie sometimes, and we're discussing where, how we want it to be, and what's going to work best, and down to the color palette, or the choices that we have on what to put in there. Sometimes they haven't had, some of the low budget movies may not have had a photographer on board, so we just have to make do with screen captures and things like that. And it's just a fun kind of creative process of trying to get to the point where it's like, this is the right image for the movie, and you hope that image will stay with the movie for its lifetime, but that seems to be happening less and less now, unfortunately. Even like the posters from the 80s aren't even living with the movies that are on streaming services. It's like, why can't that just stay with that movie? I don't understand why you have to put an image of the actor and then just the logo. I mean, it's fine. Yeah, we know. Okay, yeah, that's what that is, right? But I don't know. It just feels like a waste when there's some beautiful piece of artwork alongside it, and they just dismiss it like, we don't need that.
Yeah, and I'm actually so glad you brought that up. And if you go through Netflix, I don't know about Disney Plus if they have that or not, but Netflix specifically, like they don't have the original movie posters. Forget about, this type of stuff that you have worked on or drew. I'm just talking like generic, movie posters, even with photos, like The Terminal with Tom Hanks standing with his bag, Die Hard, Bruce Willis half face with the building, and you don't see that. And maybe because we look into it, because we grew up with it. But I think those posters, if you look at the '80s posters and even some of the '90s, I mean, they were just incredible. Like. They just remain in your memory, like English Patient, Schindler's List, Forrest Gump. They're just very simple posters, and they register to the movie's story and the theme and the style and all that.
Yeah. No, that's right. I mean, some of the, you know, we had this conversation when you did a documentary. I think it was a documentary you were doing,
Yeah,
and you asked me to illustrate a poster for you, and you'd already kind of had something in place,
yeah,
which was a photographic image from the
yeah,
film with the text, the billing, and the logo, and that, to me that felt perfect for that movie already. And I'm like, actually, for this kind of film, an illustrated poster is not going to bring anything. It's not going to help you. It's not going to give an extra anything that I can see. And what you had was already doing a really good job. And so, I've given that advice to a few people over the years to say, look, I think what you've got is absolutely brilliant. You don't need me for this.
yeah,
And some projects don't need an illustrated poster. And, and some projects do. And some projects it works better for, and others it's not necessary.
100%. And I'm so glad you said no to me because let me show you. I actually spent, this is during COVID, I spent so much time using Photoshop doing these two on my own, right? And these are just like photographs, collages,
Yeah.
and just, texture and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm so glad you said no to me because I think, especially for one of my projects, there was definitely no need for that.
Mm.
I can still debate maybe for one of them there might be, but still at the same time, I was glad that you said no to me because it kind of, during COVID, it was just kind of like, even though, we were working on the post production of our films, there's still so much time, especially in the early days
Yeah.
of COVID, and you had to be super busy just to keep yourself sane. But yeah, you're right. Going back to that thing about not everything is for illustration and stuff, and
Yeah,
you said
some
you worked with
things.
some of the directors. Who have you worked with directly, like not through an agency or marketing department?
Oh, it's quite a list.
Top five.
Jeez. Well, one of the ones, the memorable one for me was Duncan Jones for Warcraft. Now the poster wasn't actually used for the. It was going to be used for a giveaway poster at one of the Warcraft big meetups that they have. They're massive. I
Right.
think it's Blizzard Entertainment and a BlizzCon or something like, I don't know what it's called. But I got to speak to Duncan on the phone, and I think he was stuck in traffic on one of the chats we had, and we were talking for about an hour, um, and just kind of coming up with ideas and throwing ideas around, and I was just making loads of notes, and um, unfortunately, it didn't get used for the giveaway poster, and then they were considering using the final poster for the main poster, and then it just went quiet and didn't hear anything. But so sometimes these projects, even though they're great fun to work on, they just don't go anywhere. It's like, wow, what a shame. But
Yeah.
but that was
Yeah.
one of the memorable ones. And then Duncan and I sort of kept in touch over the years, and we met up in London and at a Warcraft screening actually because we used the poster. And I think we did some prints and Duncan signed them and I sat next to a guy who works for ILM who did he supervised all the animation in the movie. He's called Hal Hickle, and he was great. And so I got to make a new friend there, and it was just like you know, um, it's just a good experience. Another one was Edgar Wright, so I got to work with Edgar on. Well, it was actually Simon Pegg who introduced me to him indirectly,
Hmm.
because Simon asked me to do as a gift, a Christmas gift for Edgar and for the producers, a poster for The World's End. So it was just like a gift for, a private gift. And
Sure.
so I was working on it. I kind of knew no one was going to see it out in public or anything. It was just for the filmmakers. And Edgar, when he got it on Christmas, I think he tweeted about it and shouted about it, and he was very excited. And then he got to know that I did it, and so we kind of got to chatting and over over. Not, I mean, it's not like oh hi, on the phone straight away. It's like over a course of a year, 2 years, whatever. You kind of end up crossing paths again. Um, but I got to work on a poster for Edgar for his very first movie, which was a 20th anniversary re-release. It was like a student movie, really. It was like his very first movie he ever made, and it was called A Fistful of Fingers. It was like a western that was filmed
Fistful of
in the United
dollars.
Kingdom, and it was like a comedy. It was a bit Monty Python esque, and so I got to work on that, which was fun, and then got to hang out with Edgar in London at the screening of that, I think, as well. But yeah, so occasionally, you get to work with some really fine people. I mean, the projects aren't always the top end projects or whatever, but to work with them has been, great fun.
Yeah.
Um, Trying to
Have
think.
you worked on a Spielberg project yet? I think you have.
Yeah, I've worked on a few Spielberg related projects. And unfortunately, like, can't really talk about it, but
That's all right. No worries.
it's a
No
bit
worries.
crazy. Um, but yeah, recently, I mean, a lot of the work I've done has been like I did an Empire cover for the Spielberg takeover
Yeah,
issue, which was
I
quite a
saw that.
proud moment of mine. Um, and you know that was a special moment to kind of be involved in that, and then also working with Empire magazine is because I've collected that magazine since day one, from when it first came out in 1989. So actually, to be working with them, and then to be, I was named a visual contributing editor couple of years ago for
Oh,
the
good for
magazine.
you,
So my
man.
name is in every issue of the magazine now. Um, and that felt like getting an Oscar to me. You know, it was quite
Oh,
a real honor to achieve that. So those guys are great. I always love working with Empire.
super.
But movie poster wise, I've done a few Spielberg related movies. Some of them have been unofficial, but like Fandango asked me to do, oh, do your favorite movie of all time. So I'm like, okay, well, that's easy. That's Raiders of the Lost Ark. So I did a Raiders poster, and it was going to go on a touring exhibition with a few other illustrators' work who had picked their favorite movies. And then it actually was on display at San Diego Comic Con.
Oh,
And I was
cool.
actually there, and Harrison Ford was there, and Harrison Ford ended up on the Fandango stage or whatever, and my artwork was there, and he signed it. And I was like,
Super.
I was right there. No one could let me know, but it would have been nice if they said, "Oh, would you like it back?" or something. But
Yeah.
not even a photocopy. So that's fine, Fandango. That's okay.
Hey, you never know, it might pop up on eBay.
Doubtful, but yeah. I mean, it's to have your artwork signed by the man himself like that is quite a great thing. But
So who
yeah,
ended up getting that, Fandango,
I
or
don't I
somebody
don't
won
know.
it?
I guess it's just still at Fandango headquarters. I have no idea. I should try and find out actually.
Yeah, you should give them a call.
Yeah.
Why not? What do you got to lose?
Nothing. You're right.
Exactly.
You're right.
Yeah, no, that would be super cool. And I think it
Yeah,
would have
I'll
been
do.
cooler if they had actually mentioned you on the spot when he was signing and pointed you out. And I think that would have been even super cooler.
That
Just
would have been cool.
not for vanity purposes, but just, as a fan and being identified that, hey, the movie that you starred in is my favorite movie of all time.
Crazy. Very crazy.
So tell me something, when you and I want to learn this too because I've always wondered, like you were talking about earlier, when you look at the 80s poster like Raiders or Empire Strikes Back and all that, you used to wonder, how they did it, like it's oil paintings and stuff.
Yeah.
Now, or when you started, in
Mm.
the early 2000s or late 90s, how is there any kind of digital work involved now or back then, or is it all like how do you go about doing what you do?
Well, mostly these days it's a digital process from beginning to end. I do have my draw. I'm just over there is my drawing board, and I also have a projector set up here on a
Hmm.
drawing board as well. But um, I still do that occasionally, but not really for the high end projects. They're mostly all digital. So I have a this is my Wacom drawing screen here,
Mm.
and it's all put together with you know images that are supplied to me generally, or sometimes we have to fabricate things ourselves, or there's stock imagery we need, or you know,
Yeah.
and and then it's illustrated in Photoshop. I mean, I used to use, when I was trying to figure out how to do this style in the computer, I would try. The first thing I got was a copy of Painter, Coral Painter, and that was great for a while. But then,
I remember that.
yeah, but then the workflow is just tricky, and it became cumbersome in the end. It became cumbersome for the. I mean, it might have changed now. I don't know if it's still going or what, but I've tried many different ways of creating this technique and this aesthetic, which is the illustrated style that I love, to try and keep that alive even in this day and age. So it's like it's been kind of an obsession and a mission of mine to try and keep it in the public eye, really, because I started seeing movies coming out. I'm like, well, that should have been an illustrated poster. Well, that should have been illustrated for that kind of movie. It was screaming for it. Like Star Trek, J.J. Abrams' Star Trek, the first one that he did. Why was that not an illustrated poster? Why? It could have been. It should have been. It should have been. But it wasn't.
So how do you define that? Like, is it genre based, or is it like, even without looking at a poster, if you're watching a movie, how do you get that sense?
Well, I don't know if it's just like my own internal barometer or something telling me things. But I'm looking at it going, that should have been that. I don't know really what the parameters are. Maybe it's because some sci-fi movies it won't work for an illustrated poster, because it's maybe it's down to the stylistic kind of, the narrative, probably the audience, the type of audience it's for would have an impact. I guess I don't actually know the parameters, but inside, when I feel it, I feel like, so I felt compelled to do something for Star Trek, and then Into Darkness, and then Simon Pegg asked me to do the one that he wrote. He's like, I need the next one, because like I haven't got that one, because we've given him the prints of the other two that I did, and they were just. It wasn't a commission or anything. It was just like I put it out there on the internet when the movies were coming out, and Simon Pegg loved them, and he's like, "Oh, these are great." And so I have, on my schedule, I have when I have time, I'm going to be doing the last one, the Star Trek Beyond.
Good. No, that's really good. And did Blade Runner sequel and Dune, that was an illustration, right? I don't think so.
No, they didn't go down that road, but they should have too. I think they should have. I mean, I worked
especially on Blade Runner.
I think, yeah. I mean, I did my own Blade Runner inspired poster, which I put out on the internet just for the love of Blade Runner. And then I can probably say this, but I actually worked on a lot of illustrations for Dune, the movie, which they didn't see the light of day. Which when I was working on, I'm like, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be so good. And then they went down a totally different road in the end of the last minute. Yeah. But that's the way it can happen. I mean, there's projects I've worked on that no one's going to get to see. I can't even tell you what they are, but maybe one day they'll be seen or something. But things that happen is, minds are changed, or it's just like, actually we've decided that we want to go down we're going to go down a different road, or we've decided to go down a photographic route or a more graphical route, or we've gone down whatever road it might be, and it's just life. It's just life. It's just a creative process, and they're doing their thing, and I'm trying to infuse it with my thing, and sometimes it doesn't work.
Well, it's kind of like similar to when you spend like $10 to $20 million on a scene and it never makes to the film.
Right. It's on the cutting room floor, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I think I think there was a case. I don't know which movie it was. They spent like $10 million on a scene and it never made it to the cut. Not even the deleted scene. I mean, $10 million.
Yeah,
Think about the
that's
amount of money.
crazy, isn't it? It's crazy, but these decisions are made, and that's the way it goes. And you have to. Everyone has to live with it to a point where it's like, even if it was somebody's favorite scene in the whole movie, and it's like we have to let it go because of whatever reason, and you have to just go, okay, well, hopefully the movie will stand up on without that, I guess.
And,
And
and sometimes those things kind of, you realize them down the road. Like, the films that I have directed, I mean, they were in all of them, especially the last two ones that I did, there were scenes in there that I really, really, really wanted.
yeah,
But my editor, suggested that, and I was in a complete disagreement. But now looking back at it, when you watch the film with the audience, okay, yeah, that was a good move, because, and I think as directors, you're so attached, to some things, and you have to learn to let go. But then sometimes, like, Avatar, the original Avatar, for example, I was reading James Cameron's article that interviewed that scene with I don't know the names of the birds where they did the whole bird sequence, like when they're flying. When he actually showed it to the executives at Fox, they said it's too long. And he said that was the one thing in the audience score that people loved the most.
right.
And he kept it, and
Yeah.
the rest is
Well, it's
history.
like you said, it's a balancing act, and you have to, and if he has I mean, if the people had overruled him and he had no say in it, which might have happened early in his career, maybe, but not now, then they might have had their way and taken it out, and nobody would have been able to enjoy that.
100%. I think going back to his early career, have you ever seen that series movies that made us with aliens episode?
Which one?
There's a series on Netflix called Movies That Made Us, so they kind of go behind the scenes.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So there's an episode on aliens, the
right.
one that he directed.
Yeah.
I didn't know this. You should watch it. There was actually a revolt by the entire cast or crew or both against James Cameron.
Ah,
And it was the fact that he had to put up with that. If he could deal with something like that, I think everything else kind of becomes easy
all
afterwards.
right. Yeah, I think if you've been put in the deep end before, everything else is kind of easy peasy in comparison.
Did you ever work on any DreamWorks project?
Um,
Officially or unofficially?
no, I don't think so.
Because I don't think they had anything. I think the only thing that came close to illustration was the poster of Legend of Bagger Vance with Will Smith, Matt Damon, and Charlize Theron. Robert
Okay.
Redford directed it.
Yeah,
That's about.
no, nothing's standing out there. I mean, obviously, would like to. There's been times where, like, I've tried to, like, I've been in LA I've got uh, Steven Spielberg's one of his assistants contact details. So I'm like, I'm gonna be in LA. Was there any chance of popping over? Oh, he's on his yacht this summer, or he's editing on his yacht, or he's not around. He's at this and that. I just never find the moment to actually visit Amblin. But one day, I did come very close to meeting him at a premiere of a movie, and the producer who I was with said to me, I said, he looks pretty free now. I'm going to go over and say hi. And he said, no, wait for the after party. You'll get more time to speak to him. So I listened to him and then went to the after party, and Spielberg didn't show up.
Something like that happened to me. Did you know? Did you know about the War of the Worlds set visit that I did?
I don't know.
So that big scene where Tom Cruise's character and his son and the fight with the robots over the hill and the military tanks and all that stuff comes in. So they were doing part of that scene in Santa Monica. And Paramount invited a bunch of journalists, web journalists over. So I went, and I witnessed the scene, and they said you get to interview Spielberg. I'm like, bang on, awesome. And then they're like, well, he's busy and he's busy, and I kept wait, and then he's like gone.
It's just not, it wasn't the right time for us. That's
Exactly.
all. That's all.
That's the way I look at it, right? But because no,
Your
it's
time will
true.
come.
No, because I actually genuinely believe that because, and I'll talk to you about this offline. One of the projects that I'm working on, there's a connection of DreamWorks in it, and that path will probably come in due time. But going back to you and your work, um, in terms of people who I see now, which is really cool. I see a lot of people now doing a lot of illustration. Like just yesterday, I was on Facebook, and somebody in the Steven Spielberg fan group posted some guy's work of all the three Indiana Jones posters, and they were phenomenal. I don't know if they were oil paintings or digital or what, but they were amazing. And you see a lot that now popping out, right? And there's always a cycle of things in anything, whether it's media or life. And I feel, and I don't know if what you think about it, I feel there is that element of illustrations kind of popping back in, especially with all the nostalgia films and the sequels and the remakes that are coming in.
Oh,
How do you see that?
well, there's no doubt that look. Listen, I mean, when I was starting out, like getting involved in my interest in movie posters as a career, like from the age of like 13, uh, nobody cared about it. It seemed it was like everyone thought I was nuts. Like you're crazy. Like how that's not a career.
When was this? What year was this?
Uh, Around 1989.
Okay, okay.
I was like 13 years old, I think. And yeah, I was like, not many people. I mean, apart from some close friends who kind of believed that it was maybe possible, but there didn't seem to be that many people interested in it. And it seemed to be, you know, during the 90s was fading out big time. I sent a letter, a fax to Drew in 1997, 6 or 7, saying, asking for some advice into getting into the industry, and he's like replied saying, "What industry? It's dead. I'm the last one. It's gone. You're too late." And the computer has taken everything away, and it was kind of disheartening. But in the facts that he sent me, there was some scripture in there which always stuck by me, which was, if it is what you want, keep knocking, and the door will be open to you. And I never let that go, and that's one of the things that kept me going through this. Is I felt so strongly about it. But Drew is like, of all the artists whose work I admire, Drew's been the one that's been, his work has always appeared miraculous and like perfect for the. It's like a state of perfection that you want to aspire to, and there's been times when I've come close to that. I felt it, It's like, well, this is really close to being good, finally. But these days, when it comes to, I mean, there's the amount of people that want to be a movie poster artist now is insane. So it's gone from nobody cares to now everybody wants to do it. And it's like, wow, And I remember saying to Drew, like, it's gonna come back. It's gonna some sort of cycle back round. It'll come back
Yeah,
into
yeah.
fashion, or because and also it's got, there's room for everybody. There's room for an illustrated poster. There's room for a photographic poster. There's room for a graphic poster. There's room for all these. There's room for a poster with just a logo on it, if it's right for the project. It's like there's all room for everybody. So the fact that it tried to die it off, kill it off, or whatever they wanted to do to it, it's come back with a vengeance.
Yeah.
And there's more and more creative people and young creative people getting into it, loving what they do, enjoying it, and the internet has enabled that uh, in a way to give an audience, a mass audience. And, like the alternative movie poster scene is massive now. I mean, I'm not just talking about, the actual key art campaigns for movies, but the side kind of things that are going on with the alternative movie posters is great too. There's some great, talented people doing good things, and eventually they'll be seeing where I'm seeing probably and doing actual key art projects, and not just like social media campaigns, which have illustrations in it. Which personally, I find when the studios are using fan art to promote the movies, it's a little bit like they're trying to control the fan art kind of scenario, like, whereas to me, fan art should be an organic thing. It shouldn't be, the studio shouldn't have any control over it. It should just be like fans doing it if they love it, not like, and here's the fan art we paid for, da da da. It should just be like, like people just feel compelled to do something. Like I used to feel compelled. I still do. Like if I see a movie and I just want to do something, I'll just do it. Like just for fun.
Yeah.
And I'll put it out there. Like Knight Rider, the 40th anniversary happened, and like I just loved Knight Rider my whole life.
That.
And so I just felt compelled to do something. So I had some free time, and I did it a little bit by little bit, kind of researching photographs and trying to pick the right things that I wanted to showcase in what would, for me personally, what would be an honor to put out there for Knight Rider. That kind of the feeling, just have the feeling of that childish.
To be part of it.
Yeah,
to be part of it.
So, and that went viral. It's just, and that was just me doing it. I didn't get paid anything to do that. It's just me for the love of it.
But see, that goes to show when you do something, and obviously this doesn't work all the time, but when you do something outside of the realm of the finance element, just because you are compelled to do it.
Yeah.
Even when you're making a film, I'm not suggesting that you should make a film or do work without money. You should, but sometimes that there is that emotional attachment to a project. When there is that passion and that drive behind it, and I'm so glad to see in a way that all this stuff is coming back. Because there's so many different avenues, like channels, social media where you can promote it. Which kind of takes me to my next question. How does it work if you created or anybody else created something like the Knight Rider poster, right? In terms of copyright, like if you're selling it as a poster or if you are selling it as an NFT, how does that work?
Well,
I know you're not a lawyer. I'm just trying to get a sense in your view. But
generally speaking, unless someone along the line has the rights to that artwork to sell it as a print. You're talking about selling prints, right?
Prints and NFTs nowadays. I mean, those are pretty big now too.
So I mean, it's generally like there are a lot of artists that do like I've noticed they'll do like a small run of APs or which are artist proofs, and that seems to be. I mean, I don't see many people getting in trouble for that. Like, if you just look at what people are doing and go, well, they're doing that, they're doing that, they're doing that. I mean, it's not advisable to try and make a like an unlimited print run or like it's a tricky subject, and I don't know all the answers, but you generally rule of thumb would be, and it's just kind of your common sense kicking in and telling you, like, if it feels wrong, generally you shouldn't be selling it. Like, but I think if it's a small enough run, like say 10 or 20 prints, and you just want to, there are a few collectors out there that just love what you do, and they just, you get emails from people sometimes like, oh, are you gonna, put that on your shop, or like I've got a few things on my shop, but they're all official prints that have been licensed and they're available now. And then occasionally I'll do an AP run of something if people ask for them, but it's a small run. If you have like a big run and it's not licensed, then you're probably gonna there are people that are buying the licenses to sell that stuff. They're putting down big money for the excuse me, they're paying for that license.
Of course.
And so, and if you're not paying for the license, you're potentially robbing them from them selling their products. And it's
Of
like,
course.
well, a license is, I mean, depending on what it is, it could be, tens of thousands of
Oh
dollars.
God, yeah.
It's like, it's
Yeah.
not, if you want to do that, it's a big investment. So that's, that would, I mean, it's not, I haven't really given any definitive advice there to anybody.
No. I was just getting your point of view, and obviously you're not a legal expert, neither am I. But yeah, license is such a, I learned this too in one of my films. Because it kind of fit the story, there was probably a need of inserting in a sequence from Quentin Tarantino's *Inglourious Basterds*, like the opening sequence. And in the cut, before we even got license, we put that in, and it was about 11 seconds long. And then we inquired about the license. Not only you have to get paid a license for the film, but then you have to pay a license for the actor, the music in it, and all that. And just to use that 11-second sequence, it was $25,000. And that was it. It went out. We never made the cut.
Yeah, I think. And I think there's probably a silent, unsaid rule or something with certain projects that you could probably get away with something like
Fair
that.
use.
If you just don't say anything. But there's there's a kind of an unsaid rule when it comes to comic book artists selling some of their work at conventions. It's kind of a like, we don't want to know. You just you did the artwork, we've used the artwork. You go ahead. And, it's kind of like we understand it happens and da da da. But
it depends, right? Like there is this thing called fair use. If you're making a reference to a particular thing and you're commenting on it, like on YouTube, I mean, people use it all the time. So there's it depends. Like if there's a filmmaker who is very finicky about their work and whatnot, they might make an issue, and rightfully so, they can. But yeah, like most of the time, people would be like, brush it aside. That's okay. But yeah, big studio budgets like Ready Player One. The amount of licenses they had to freaking inquire.
Right. Yeah.
There's like a ridiculous amount of characters in there that you can't even notice no matter how many times you watch it.
Yeah. Even if you freeze frame it, you're like,
yeah.
There's some of them are just so blurry you can't even tell what they are. Like, but yeah, I mean that's insane how they handled that and get all of those IPs in one place. I mean, it's like kind of a miracle in itself. That is.
But I think only Spielberg could have done that.
That's what I was going
right?
to say. Is like it was one of those projects where maybe only Steven Spielberg could have pulled it off. And according to the behind the scenes, is like he was like telling him not to use much of his own IP. It's like no, and they were just trying to slip things in like without him noticing.
Yeah, there was that part of the final battle sequence. The special effects people, they inserted in a gremlin in the front of the frame, which he never approved, and he was watching. He's like, "Where did this come from?"
Well, so he spotted it.
Yeah. But you did the book cover for Ready Player 2 book, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. How was that experience?
Oh, it was working with Ernie was the best. He is so cool. Like, so he had obviously I had to read the book, so he sent me a copy, I think. Yeah, and then I read the book, and I actually have two. I've got Ready Player One and two signed by Ernie to me, which is very nice.
Oh, sweet.
But yeah, working with Ernie was fun. He had some ideas on kind of what he wanted. Then he's like, but it's up to you, whatever you want to do. So I kind of put something together, and then it was kind of they were kind of like okay with it from straight away because I it had like a sort of dystopian kind of feel about it. It was like uh not too obvious, but it had like the graphic of Wade trying to grab the artifact and excuse me, sorry about a bit dry.
No, that's all right.
But yeah, it was it was a great thrill working with Ernie and video chatting with him, and he's in his garage and he's like surrounded by his DeLoreans
Nice.
and all these movie posters on his walls and everything else. It's just, what a cool. I mean, and he's like, anytime you're in the neighborhood, come over and you can drive one of the DeLoreans. And so I really have to take him up on that one day when I get over there. But yeah, what a lovely guy. I just I think the world of Ernie. I think he's great. So yeah, and then it came out, and it's a great honor to be part of it. I have nothing bad to say.
But it's I wasn't asking for you to say something bad, but but it's perfect for you two guys, right? Like because that '80s connection and nostalgia and all that stuff. I mean, the type of stuff that you do. Now, I haven't read the book, and I know they're making a sequel, and I think Spielberg is probably going to executive produce it, or Amblin is going to be involved. Is it more darker than the first one, or is it more like, in your view, what you felt as just as a reader or audience member?
I think it's almost. I mean, if you're up on any of the technology that's happening that they're planning for our future, it kind of taps into that, even because it's set in our future, and it's like it does bring in some of the things that are actually being worked on at the moment, which is a bit
AI.
scary. But I don't want to go into too many details because you might spoil the story. But there's obviously a lot of pop culture references in this one as well, and music plays a big part in it too.
Is it pop culture reference still from the lot of '80s or '90s as well, or?
No, it's still '80s, but one of the a fairly large part is to do with Prince, the music of Prince. So like on the cover of the book, there's sort of like a Purple Rain thing going on. Like it's kind of like a little kind of nod to that without going too far there. It's sort of there on the cover, and so when you read it, hopefully you can look at the cover and go, "Oh, okay." So but yeah, I mean, it's definitely. The scary thing is it feels like, especially the way things are going, it could actually become like a 1984 kind of book where it's like, oh, those things are actually starting to happen now.
Well, yeah. I mean, you look at now.
Big Brother watching you and everything, and then going on to like the technology that like people like Elon Musk is working on at the moment, which
the chip, the human.
yeah, like the transhuman kind of thing. So it's kind of part of that's tied into the book, which it makes it feel even more like it could really happen. The thing that's in the book could actually be a thing.
Well, you look at now, I mean, you've heard of all these new AI technologies, right? ChatGPT and I think Copy.ai or something, and a bunch of others. And have you ever used ChatGPT?
Is this the AI the generation thing where it
Yeah,
can
so basically
it just like type in a
you
couple of words and then it like makes a piece of art?
yeah. So I tested it. I mean, you can do anything. Like you can do recipes, you can do storytelling. I wrote a sentence and I said, "Can you write me a story about a fisherman in a fishing village?" That's it.
Yeah.
And it came with one page treatment in about 9.5 seconds. Now, it wasn't groundbreaking, but it was still structured in a way like a proper story, like an act one, an act two, an act three. But but yeah, what I was gonna say was in terms of technology and the Big Brother and AI and all that. I mean, yeah, like you said, it is already happening, and I think we're already living in it. If you look at internet, I mean, anybody can pull up our searches.
Yeah. No, true. Yeah. The AI stuff. I mean, it felt like that was starting to happen with some. Like I noticed some movie posters. Like, cause I always look at movie posters that are out there, or even artwork that people are doing regarding the movie posters. And there's definitely some art that feels like it's just a photographic composition that a filter has been applied to it, and that I I, I find that offensive. Uh, just because, well, I mean,
And
well,
that you know what, that filter stuff happened a lot. I mean, it's still happening in photography. It happened quite a bit in the video and the on the side of things between 2010 and 2016, 17, because all these plugins that came in, like to give it like a softer look or all that stuff.
yeah,
And but now that's changing because at least in the world that I am in, color correction is the way to go. Like that's the natural thing that you manipulate just colors in there. But
mm,
filters are just yeah, it just ruins the taste of what you're trying to do.
yeah, yeah. And it feels like it was the start of the AI kind of image generation software of in some way, because it'd be like, well, what style do you want it in? And it's like, well, can you do this one so it looks like Van Gogh painted it? And then it goes Van Gogh, and it's like, okay, it's not very good. I mean, I'll be honest, it's a bit average. But
But it'll
now,
get better over time.
yeah, well, now, like I've seen some stuff. I'm like, someone just write, uh, action star, or even yourself. You can put yourself in it, can't you? You can put yourself in it. You can tell it what you want in the style of whatever, and some of the results are very good. And it's quite scary to think a computer just kind of with some kind of neural engine which has been learning. I guess it's been learning from everyone on the internet. So if you upload anything, it's somehow being cataloged in some way and kind of indexed in a way so that whenever anyone wants to generate something, it taps into those things
Yeah.
and then comes up with something. And honestly, I mean, I love technology and it's very clever. I mean, I think for a starting point, it'd be a great little, starting point. But at the moment, for a finished piece of art, I would say, and for what I do, I don't think it could do it.
No, I
But
think there's always going to be room for, the real arts. Just like you mentioned about when Drew said that what I do is dead,
yeah,
but it can't, anytime technology advances, even like in terms of AI, everybody says people are going to go out of jobs. Yeah, people might go out of certain jobs, but there will be other jobs that will make up for those jobs.
yeah.
But, I was going to say something and I just lost my train of my thought. But in terms of technology, have you seen? Oh yeah, with the whole thing with the deep fake, right? We're kind of going off topic here. I'm just going to make one last point. But the deep fake thing, I was just reading this a few days ago. Microsoft has this technology that can listen to anybody's voice for 3 seconds and make your version of it, your voice, come back and say whatever the heck they
I
want it to
think I
say.
saw that, and they type it in, don't they? They type. Is it like they type it in and it speaks it? Is
Yeah,
that?
yeah, but it
Yeah.
needs to listen to you, your original voice for 3 seconds to grasp that. I mean, imagine, going to Big Brother and going back to Ready Player One. You can be out there on the internet with a deep fake of your
Yeah.
face and your audio saying something that you shouldn't
That
be
you did not
saying.
say. Yeah. Yeah.
Insane.
That is a
Well,
scary thing. And that's, it's a technology that, if it was in the wrong hands, could do some real damage, I think. And it's a scary thought. But also, like, you look at movies where they can de-age actors now, and you
they're,
know,
they're doing that with the upcoming Indiana Jones.
yeah, exactly. I mean and that's effect when it's done right, effectively, very good. Uh, I want to see more adventures of Indiana Jones in that time period. I mean, it's like that's the fighting the Nazis and all that kind of stuff. It's great. Um, but I actually had a conversation with someone. It was at a part. Okay, I not. It was like a get together of like writers and creative people at San Diego Comic Con, and they were in special effects, and we were talking about the Solo movie, and I really enjoyed that movie. I was like,
Did
I
I?
don't know how they're gonna do that,
Yeah.
but somehow it worked, and the main lead did a pretty good job. But when you see the deepfake version that somebody did, and they put Harrison Ford's face on the actor, it just made a big world of difference. To
Somebody actually did that. I didn't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, not to the whole movie, but for certain
Like a
scenes in the
scene.
movie, and for it was a semi-professional looking job. I mean, it kind of worked, especially certain parts of it. And if you had a guy who was doing a spot on impersonation of Harrison Ford's voice, or you had Harrison Ford doing the voice, it would have just been absolutely the best thing ever to see a young Han Solo. Because that actor, who is a spitting
I know
image,
you're talking, but I don't know his name.
Anthony Gruber, I think his name is,
Okay.
and I saw him on something, and he actually played a young Harrison Ford in a movie called Age of Adeline, and it was like they were in the same movie together, not
Mm.
together, but he played
Yeah,
a
yeah,
young Harrison
yeah.
Ford, and I'm like, how is this guy not like being picked up to be the next, the next Han Solo, if they're going to go, early Han Solo or a young Indiana Jones, or how is this guy? Because it's like seeing Harrison Ford from Force 10 from Navarone. He's got a bit older now,
Yeah.
but it's like he's going to look like Harrison Ford was for Raiders of the Lost Ark for sure. Like, I mean, it's like, and he can do the mannerisms, and he can do. You don't need deep fake with this guy. It's like he's
But
perfect.
I find nowadays, especially, everything has become so political.
Right.
In and there's so many, with the I don't know the details at Lucasfilm and stuff, but obviously with the Star Wars fiasco and the new trilogy, and even Indiana Jones, like Spielberg was supposed to originally direct it, and
Mm.
then he backed out, and now he's the executive producer. I just feel like there's just so much politics and so much bureaucracy now in Hollywood than ever before, that even if what you're saying could be true in a lot of people's eyes, but it just may not work out on the grand scale of things from,
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs, but just on the surface level,
yeah.
kind of as a fan of all things George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, uh, to see somebody who can kind of like, you feel like they could pull it off. It's like
Yeah.
how, but like you say, there might be something behind the scenes we just don't know about. But the fact that we've seen him out there and he can do it, it's exciting to me to think it could be a thing. But the
I
the
gotta see
deep
that
fake
now.
technology in the new movie, according while looking at the trailer, it seems quite good. So,
Yeah.
um,
Um, I'm gonna end this on two notes. One, um, you've seen Land Before Time.
I know I haven't actually.
You have not seen Land
No,
Before Time.
my fiance keeps telling me I should watch it because she got all of the VHSs of all of those
You should.
movies.
Well, it's Lucas and Spielberg
Yeah, I know.
and
Look, I can't.
Don Bluth.
Sure, I know. Look, I get this all the time. Like, you've not seen that movie, and like, how can I possibly see every movie? Like,
No, no, I know.
like growing up, I avoided a lot of horror movies because I didn't like
Yeah,
them. I
same.
avoided a lot of there was certain genres of movie I also avoided, and some of the kids' cartoon movies I avoided them. Like, I only just watched Five Goes West. Only just. I'm getting there, but it's
So
like there's a lot of stuff.
the reason I asked you actually wasn't to, put you in a corner on a
I know.
spot, but maybe you should do. I guess you have to see the film
Yeah.
first. Do an illustration of that because even the cover of the VHS. I think I have the tape here somewhere. Um, do I? No, I don't have it here with me right now. But yeah, even the cover, I mean, that's obviously it's animation, but it looks like an illustration, right? Like them going on this mountain, climbing up, and with the distant background, you see a T-Rex. And anyways, just food for thought. I'm just making.
Maybe is there an anniversary coming up? Maybe we could do something special for it.
Came out in '89, so yeah, you have 35th anniversary next year.
There you go.
There you go.
Maybe we can work on that together.
Oh no, I'm okay. I don't know how to draw, dude. I don't know.
No, you could you could be art director, like kind of the conceiver of the project, and maybe you could experience trying to get a license to do a few prints of that or something as an anniversary
Sure.
piece.
Sure,
I don't know.
let's work on that down the road for sure. Awesome,
Anything's
man. This has
possible.
been great. I hope you enjoyed the time in conversing and
Oh no, it's good to see you. This has been it's been a while, so it's been good to see you, good to chat.
yeah, man. Pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Looking forward to more of your work as always.
And yours.
And I occasionally travel to London. I was in London quite a bit in the last few months, and if I do come again, which might happen, I'll give you a shout and maybe we can hook up.
Yeah, no, we'll try and do that for sure.
Perfect, man.
All right.
Nice chatting with you guys.
All the
You
best.
have a great day, man.
Yeah, you too. Bye.